So good morning all and welcome into the sanctuary. It's good to be with you here on this third Sunday as we move forward into the celebration of life and light and love on the 25th. But of course, as truth students, we're called to this celebration every day, every moment of our lives. But this week, the theme is living in spirit. And we are invited to ponder what that means in your life and what that means in mine, what it is to live in spirit. Well, as we live in spirit from the science of mind and spirit point of view, it means that we have chosen to live a spiritual life. And when the living of a spiritual life, there comes the necessity in the beginning to be spiritually minded in all we think, say, and do, so that our spiritual practice is all embracing, and it just does not cover the time, the moments allotted to meditation or spiritual reading or contemplation or prayer treatments and so on. But that it is actually infused in every thought we think and every feeling we entertain and everything we do, so that there is that essence of who and what we are running throughout the whole tone of our lives, constantly and consistently, without any stoppages and blockages or breakages anywhere along the way. Now that is our goal, that is our mission, that is our vision, to be truth students in truth, in practice, in experience, in realization, in recognition of all of that. Because when we live a spiritually conscious, oriented life, then we are freed to be more fully ourselves. We are freed to be more mindfully ourselves. We're free to be more authentically ourselves. And in so being, make the difference without us having to do anything, just simply by being who and what we are in truth. We're making a greater difference than the frenetic hurry and rushing to do this and do that and so on. Because the more we recognize the truth of our being, the more poised we become. The more able we are to enter into the stillness and into the quietness and into the silence wherein everything gets done. That's where everything gets done the most magnificently. Not through any freneticism, but through the still, quiet confidence that we are told releases our strength. In quiet confidence shall your strength be. And that's not to say that you and I, after embracing the truths of religious science or any great ancient ever new wisdom, that we will not be challenged. As long as you and I are wearing a body, there are going to be human challenges. So we have to get used to that. That's always going to be a river running through us. However, we do become very much more skilled at being able to handle that river when it goes into uncharted waters or into the rapids. And we stop being worried and concerned about how the water is flowing. And we simply go into the stillness, go into the quietness, and we know who's rowing the boat. You see, it's all about knowing who's rowing the boat. Because if I don't know something greater than I am is rowing my boat, it's not going merrily down the stream, I can tell you. Anything but. So it's that sense of the relaxing and the releasing and the letting go of the angst around all of the challenges that come to us, and especially at this time. See, half of us in the world at this time who embrace the deeper meaning of Christmas are overjoyed and jazzed by it all, and the other half are sorrowing and sad and challenged in a way that takes away from them their joy. And so this is something we have to be aware of, that as much as some of us are celebrating, others among us are sorrowing. Like the gentleman yesterday that came to the angel tree giving, and though it was difficult to get a response out of him, he had a daughter with him, and anytime he was invited to, go around and take things for the other two children that had not been there, apart from the gifts that we were given, he said, "Oh no, thank you, that's all right." Well, then somebody noticed him sitting at the back and tears coming down his cheeks, only to be realized that 2 days ago he lost his wife, a young man around 30 years of age. And so we never know what is going on. And I can remember way back when a great ancient philosopher said, in all your dealings with each other, be kind, because there's a great battle raging in every heart. In all your dealings with others, be kind. There's a great battle raging in every heart. And so this is the season indeed that we get to be so aware of this dichotomy, the joy and the sadness and the sorrow, you see, all rolled up into one. And that's not to say that we must release and let go of our joy or celebratoriness, not at all. But what we're doing is on the lookout for those who are not at that same level of awareness just now in this moment. And to be showing up as that kindness and as that recognition and as that compassion and love. You never know that crabby neighbor, what that crabby neighbor's going through. And so at this, in Christed conscious awareness, there's no crabbiness can touch us. Just no crabbiness can touch us. That's just the long and the short of it. And that's why we're here on a Sunday when we could be doing so many different other things. There are so many places to go and things to do and all of that, and yet we're here. Most of us anyway, some of us are out in the malls. But anyway, that too is a mission and a ministry. And so, you see, it's all about who is your God? Who is your God? I mean, what is the God in your life all about? Who is your God? We have to ask ourselves that question. And where is that God to be found? Who is your God and where is that God to be found? That's what this time of year is all about. Oh, come, Emmanuel, we cry all the time. There's a lonesomeness. There's a weariness. There's a longingness. There's a yearning that flows through the wintertime. And it doesn't matter whether the sun is shining or it's snowing. There's a wintertime. And that is what Augustine said, is you have made us for your hearts, O Lord, and our hearts cannot rest until they rest in you. Like the deer that yearns for running water, so is my soul pining for you. Every night I drench my couch with tears. I flood my bed with weeping because I long for you. These are all ancient cries out by people who were endeavoring, just as you and I are, to become consciously aware and interconnected with our source in such a way that we no longer have to pine and long and yearn and be in separation and ask ourselves, how long is this going to go on, you see? But that underpins everything in your life and mine. It's a low-grade sort of feeling, yearning, longing, and it will be there until you and I finally come to that poise, to that peace that passes understanding, to that engagement with our source, which is what spiritual practice is all about, to help us to become more deeply engaged, consciously aware of the source of our being, not up there, out there in the sacred places or any of that, but right here in the tabernacle of our hearts, in the cradle of our minds, you see. That's where it all is. There's no other place to find the God that is the true God, which is not the God that has been created by a human construct. Not anything like that God is, thanks be to God. Not anything like that. Not anything like that. But the God that you and I are endeavoring to consciously engage with at a deepening and advancing and heightening and widening sense is an energy, a power, a presence, a very real presence and a very sure help right here and right now. That all we have to do to engage it, because it's always on tiptoes waiting for us to invite it, it will not come uninvited. No way will it come uninvited. It must be invited. But it's on tiptoes waiting to respond to all those good needs that we have. If we but just release them and hand them over and give them up and stop endeavoring to do its business by outlining how everything should happen. Of course, none of us in this room are controllers. I think my nose is growing. I think Pinocchio is appearing. But you see, we're so used to having to be in control that when it comes to our spiritual life, it's very hard for us to understand this is one sense and sensibility, one form of consciousness wherein we can release all of that, let all of that go, and there's nothing for us to take care of or to do. There's only for us to be what? Open and receptive to the good that is already present in your life and in mine. Is it easy? Absolutely not. And if anybody tells you it's easy, I'd wonder. I would wonder. Because anybody I know who truly is authentically making this endeavor, they will all say the same thing: it is not easy. It's very, very challenging. And sometimes you're at the pin of your collar to keep yourself together, your wits about you, and just to stay centered, even though you might be hanging from one limb of that tree of awareness of the truth that's supposed to set us free. Nevertheless, as I'm hanging there, I'm telling myself the truth, no matter what. I at least can tell myself the truth, whether I believe it or not, whether I feel it or not, whether I like it or lump it or not. I can tell myself the truth, and in time, if I tell myself the truth enough, I'll begin to break through into the conviction of the truth, the feeling of the truth, until it fully embraces me in such a way that I've broken through the shell of separation and I'm out into the cosmic realization of the Christ right here and the Christ right now, and the wholeness of that, and the allness of that, and the completeness of that, and the unified beingness of that. That, my dear ones, is what this teaching is about, always was. And it's not just Science of Mind teaching, it's only the one true teaching. There's only one truth. And I don't care what label we give to it, it's the one truth. God is all there is only God, and that's that. Now, it's up to you and it's up to me to wake up to recognizing that God. The God of omnipresence, the omniscient, omnipresent God, the all-powerful, all-knowing, everywhere present God. Now, God can't just be a little bit present if God is omnipresent. And it doesn't mean that, yes, everywhere except in him and her. Or them over there, or that out there. Everywhere. The same God indwells every person, place, and thing to the same degree. The only difference is a level of conscious awareness. Some are snoring their heads off, as you know, to any idea of themselves as being godly, or anybody else for that matter. And some are pretty darn awake about it. And some of us are on the way, on our way back into the awareness we've always had. And that's where the longing and the yearning comes from. There's something inside us that remembers what it was like to be unified, remembers what it was like to be light of being, remembers what it is like to be the image and the likeness of that which created us. And it will not let us go until we wake up enough to say, oh my gosh, oh golly gee, I've always been thus. It's always been this way. It's always been that I have that wholeness and that completeness and that fullness and that allness and that beauty and that grace and that power and that presence, that wisdom, that understanding, that counsel, that knowledge, that fortitude, that joy. Always been that's who and what I am. And now I'm called in this time, most especially because so many people in the world at this time, not just Christians, but across the board, are celebrating great winter celebrations of light and warmth returning. And so the energy is higher because of that. And you and I get to be part of it. But we're called into making it real, not just when we're sitting in here on a Sunday or when we're engaged in spiritual practice, called meditation, called spiritual reading, called contemplation, called spiritual mind treatment, not just then, but in our darkest moment, in our most hurting moment, in our most painful moment. I'm still the image and likeness and the glory of God fully alive, and so are you. Even if it is through tears that I have to remind myself of that. Tears of downright disappointment, downright frustration, that I'm still not getting it to the level that I want to get it. I'm still not the beingness of who and what I want to be. I'm still reaching for it. Even so, I'm still the awesome light and life and love and peace and beauty and power of life itself. And there's nothing in me can damage it, diminish it, limit it in any way. It remains pristine at the center core of my being, that awareness. And that's what brings through the joy that does eventually burst out in spite of ourselves, our small egoic selves that is scared and frightened and afraid most of the time. And when it's not, it's just even, it's like that. Just waiting for something to happen so that it can be scared again. So we need to get a grip on the divine aspect of our beings and identify more and more and more with the divine aspect of our being. So like Jesus, the conscious Christed one, we too can become the spiritualized, individualized expression of the one. And that is when we've aligned in perfect balance the human and the divine. That's when Christ consciousness bursts through. And I am indeed in that state of equilibrium. And I am the conscious awareness of life itself, and you too. And that's what it takes. But I'm not going to get there in consciousness if I'm all the time identifying with my human side of me, with all that I don't have, all that I lack, all that limits me, all that's not right with me, and so on. It's not going to happen that way for me as long as I keep doing that. And God knows we're so practiced in doing that. We're beyond black belters in it, I'm telling you. So we have to get a grip on the divine aspect of our being and keep identifying with that. Now it says, it has been written, in all things give thanks. Rejoice in the Lord always. It doesn't say just when you're happy, just when you have something to crow about. That's good. It says, in all things give thanks and rejoice in the Lord always. Now, the Lord, you substitute, you know that by now in Scripture, for law. The Lord is the law. So rejoice in the law always. And again, I say rejoice. That's what that means. And what consolation is that to me when I'm going through a tough, challenging time? It reminds me there's a power for good in the universe greater than I am, and it's law, and I get to use it. I get to direct it. I get to use it for my good and the good of others. And that is my comfort at that time. That's what's going to raise me and allow me to stop identifying with my conditions, my situations, my circumstances, etc., 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 so that I can identify with what is much more awesomely powerful than all of that. The truth that sets me free. Can you believe it is the question? I mean, all our crises are spiritual crises, and they flow out of our inability to truly, truly believe. Oh, yes, we say we believe. But come the crunch, what happened to that belief? Come the crunch, where's the faith? Faith is only needed when we're in a crunch. We don't need faith when everything is going well and all in the garden is growing beautifully. We only need faith when we're challenged. And we've got it. There's no shortage of it. Faith is simply the recognition thrower. That's all we need to do is recognize right where I am. God is, and where God is, there can only be God and nothing else. There's no ailment where God is. There's no lack and limitation where God is. There isn't. And at this time of year especially, the world needs us to be out there and be the light that's shining, not unlit, but the light that is shining, so that other paths may be lightened and a way may be seen ahead. And it's nothing to do with preaching and teaching and all of that jazz. It just has simply to do with a vibration, an energy that's flowing through you that is the light itself. It is the truth itself. It is love itself. That's all. Nothing more to do except to be that, radiating that, emanating that wherever we are. Above all else at this time, we're called to be kind to ourselves, so that we can be kind everywhere else. And if we're not kind to ourselves, there's no way you and I can be kind to anything or anyone else. Spiritual students have to get over their own self-disappointment, their own frustration with themselves. Here's the thing. There's nothing and no one to forgive except myself. I'm the only one I have to forgive. For being disappointed, for being irritated, for being impatient, for judging that where I am is not where I think I should be. And you too. So the world is needing you out there. And let me tell you, my dear ones, your light was shining brightly and radiating powerfully and palpably yesterday when those families came in to pick up their gifts from you. You put so many lights into hearts. You put so many smiles on faces. You put so much sense of hope to begin with in some people's hearts, and joy in others. For the ones who couldn't be in joy yet, they were filled with a sense of hope. You know, that they are being taken care of and that there is help out there and that God shows up in many different ways. And those people certainly knew that God showed up by means of you yesterday. So I salute you. I salute you. You have no idea, and that's okay because we're not supposed to have any real idea of it. But you don't have any idea how amazing your light was shining yesterday. How brilliant it was. And such amazing grace that was filling you as a consequence of it. There's no other Christ coming this Christmas if it's not you. There is no Christ to come except you. Your Christed awareness of the truth of your being and the truth of all being. The way you interact with others, and especially under your own roof. Oh my goodness, especially under your own roof. The gift has to be the gift of kindness, understanding, patience. Kindness, understanding, patience. That's how we show up as love. Kindness, understanding, and patience. But as I say, if I don't have kindness, understanding, and patience with myself, I'm not going to be able to have it with anybody else either. So the call today is living in spirit. To live in spirit is simply to be awake, to be present, to be mindful, to be tuned in, and to be switched on. It's not enough to be tuned in, I must be switched on. And to take it one moment at a time, one breath at a time, one day at a time, and be all that we can be in the moment, right here and right now. That's enough. It's more than enough. Lord, for tomorrow and its needs I do not pray. Thank you for my daily bread of health, my daily bread of wealth, my daily bread of loving relationship, and my daily bread of creative expression. Thank you for today's bread of fullness, wholeness, completeness, and plenty. That's all. That's a great prayer. I don't have to worry about tomorrow. I'm in the everlasting now and the eternal moment, and that's all I'll ever have. In fact, there's no such thing as tomorrow anyway. It's always today. Did you notice that? I have to remind us all of that from time to time. It's always today. There's no getting out of today, my dear ones. It's always today, it's always the moment, it's always now. And what I am now in this moment, I will be in the next moment. Because the next moment is created out of who and what I am in this moment now. So I'm saluting everybody here. I'm saying thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the whole of my being. Thank you for yesterday. And thank you for all of this year's good thoughts, good feelings, and good deeds, because you are making the difference. You are the difference. The world is brighter and lighter because of you. So remember that the next time you begin to berate yourself or feel small or less than. The world is lighter and brighter because of you, because of the power, because of the presence, because of the inner wonderful grace that is you, your true essence. So let us acknowledge that within each other as we go about the business of preparation for Christmas, and know that we are Christmas. Christmas has come already. And we are the Christ light that everybody's waiting for. So as the Christ light, I salute you. Namaste. There's no doubt about that. The light in me salutes the light in you. And now we all go out and salute the light in everything and everyone, even if it is through gritted teeth at times. Namaste, everything and everyone. Namaste, namaste, namaste. And so it is.